Although Shoud has a moral character in his name, he doesn't have any morality in himself. Not only is there no morality, but even a hint of it is missing in his demeanor. And Changfeng, although he is also an unscrupulous person, at least he has the skill of scheming. Such people are generally full of benevolence and morality on the surface and full of the mindset of vile men, thieves, and prostitutes. But the key is that the full belly of male thieves and female prostitutes cannot be seen. In the belly of Old Man Su, the bad water fermented for a lifetime, and no one except himself knows how many wicked things have been done, but the only one who really broke it was Ruoli. In most cases, Elder Su is still very good at superficial skills. At this time, Father Su had already regarded Shoud as his future successor, so he said with earnest words, "Shoud, you have to know that the survival rules and know-how of upper-class society, in general, are two words, teacher famous." A famous teacher? Shoud hurriedly asked. "Dad, can you tell me more specifically?" Elder Su explained. "The so-called famous teacher means that everything must have a decent reputation. If we don't have any status, we will go straight up and give the other party a mess. Then this belongs to the young people who don't play cards according to the routine and don't perform martial arts, and we can only do it for ourselves. Look at it. In wars between countries throughout the ages, even if the aggressor wants to invade a country, under normal circumstances, it will find a reason that can barely be justified. Just like the Lugochao July 7th incident, the Japanese also lied that a soldier was missing, and then took the opportunity to start the incident. We still need a reason between countries, let alone our families." "Speaking of this," Mr. Su said with a cold expression, "actually, I wanted Leona's life a long time ago. From the moment I knew Leona was going to Oru's Hill, I wished that Leona's plane crashed and died on the way to Oru's Hill. Then you can get it done once and for all, once and for all. But I could only think about it in my heart, not just do it, because Leona only went to Oru's Hill, and didn't do anything that would humiliate the Su family's reputation. If she gets off her private jet because she is going to Oru's Hill, then once the incident happens, the entire Su family will be destroyed. So, if we want her life, she must be known as a teacher only after she has done things that substantially damage the reputation of the Su family. Now, during the duration of the marriage between Leona and your elder brother, she went to Oru's Hill to bid for the old house where Changying lived, and the price was still multiple times higher than the market price. This has indeed affected the reputation of the Su family. At this time, you have a certain reason to kill her." Shoud heard this and said with a face of being taught, "Dad, I understand what you mean. Hearing this from you today really made me start. In the future, I will follow you to study hard and polish myself." Shoud grew up so old, and today is really the first time he heard his father talk about this strategy. In fact, the Old Man Su is very scheming, and there are countless strategies in his stomach. This is just a very simple point, not a sophisticated strategy. However, because Shoud is the second child, he had no chance to learn such a strategy before. This kind of strategy, like the art of the ancient emperor, is often only passed on to the prince who wants to inherit the ruler in the future. The other princes have no chances to learn, and they are not even qualified to listen. The reason why the emperor was unwilling to teach his country's methods and strategies to other princes was that he was afraid that other princes would threaten the eligible prince's safety in the future. This is like those martial arts sects. The head will always pass on the core martial arts to the successor of the next head, but not to other apprentices. The purpose is to ensure that the strength of the successor is higher and will not be overthrown by his own people. In the past, the old man Changfeng devoted himself to teaching his eldest son Xin Su every day. As for the other sons, he never taught them any real strategies. But now, the eldest son Xin has been completely abandoned by him. After the eldest son was abolished, the most ideal heir in his heart became the second son Shoud. Therefore, he planned to train Shoud from now on. At this moment, he felt in his heart, I have at most 10 or 20 years to live in the future, and Shoud will grow up from now, 10 or 20 years, and he will have almost hardly settled in the dealings of affairs. In this way, he will not threaten my grasp of the Su family power over the next 10 or 20 years. But if he changes to abide by the Tao and become the heir, maybe in 5 or 8 years, I can't hold him down. Looking at it this way, the situation that happened to this day may not necessarily be a bad thing. At this moment, Shoud hurriedly asked, Dad, how are we going to kill Leona, that bitch woman, now? Have you sent a master in the family to Orr's Hill? No. Changfeng shook his head and said, how can you use your own person for this kind of thing? Isn't that equivalent to bringing trouble for yourself? Shoud asked in a puzzled way. Dad, didn't you say that we want to become famous? Now that Leona is insulting the family, don't we already have a reason to do it? Changfeng was very disappointed and rebuked, Shoud. Being famous is a necessary condition, but it is by no means the only condition. If you just cover your face and run naked, you won't be recognized. Would you just wear a mask in the future and won't wear pants? Shoud said in fear. Dad, I didn't mean that. Changfeng snorted coldly and said sharply, you can hear clearly, even if the teacher is famous, this kind of life-killing thing, we must try our best to separate everything. As he said, he added, the teacher I just mentioned is famous, but it just leaves us behind. The most important thing for us is not to let the other party find any evidence. The best solution to this matter is to find a way to kill Leona, and although the whole world thinks it must be our Su family, no one should find any substantive evidence. Like the famous princess in Europe, everyone knows how she died, but what's the use? No one can show direct evidence of her murder. In the end, they can only say that she died in a car accident. 10,000 steps back, even if the outside world has evidence that the royal family murdered her, the royal family will at least have a reason to excuse itself or mitigate the crime. For example, she was pregnant with a pagan child and intended to marry a pagan, which is detrimental to the royal authority. For example, she had already given birth to a prince for the royal family, but once she married a pagan in her second marriage, she would give birth to a pagan baby, and this pagan baby is the half-brother of the royal prince. Where is the prince's face? Where is the face of the entire royal family? And where is the face of the entire nation? These are all the reasons why the royal masters are famous, and they are also the way to wash themselves after the big incidents in the future. Shoud hurriedly asked, Dad, how can you make Leona's death ambiguous? Changfeng sneered and said, what I am after is not to make her die an ambiguous death, I want to make her die impeccably.